Time is going, it's a bomb. There's a lot going on in the Tribe by Noir community, and I've been hard at work adding a lot of very valuable and important things that you need to know and learn from in order to be able to be successful on your journey. We're talking about shaving off months and even years off of the struggle to be able to reach peak health, right? And that's what this is all about here. Now, when you become a member of the Tribe by Noir community, you get access to all of the courses and guides and member-exclusive live streams and video playlists and community and group coaching calls, etc. Okay? Now, with the guides, there's a few very important key guides. The first one is the High Raw Vegan Nutrition Guide and Diet Plan, or diet plans. And this teaches you how to structure your calories, your macros, your meal structure, and it teaches you how to do that in alignment in order to achieve whatever your goals are, whether that be to gain weight, lose weight, reverse metabolic disorders, and autoimmune issues, okay? And you also get recipes and things of that nature. And it's growing, so I'm adding to it periodically to make it better, okay? In addition to that, we have the alternate day fasting guide, Train, Feast, Fast. If you are looking to drop body fat in a minimal amount of time and add on years to your life, improving longevity, then this is the route to definitely go. This works much more effectively as opposed to just doing a simple caloric deficit or an aggressive caloric deficit. Train, Feast, Fast is geared towards getting you to drop body fat in a record time while preserving lean mass and cutting time off of the journey, as well as saving you money on your grocery bill. We're talking about minimalization, taking all of the complicatedness out of it and making it more efficient. As far as training goes, we have Tribe Flex. Tribe Flex is all about train anywhere and train everywhere, okay? Where you have full fitness freedom. So you can train and reach your fitness goals without the need of a gym, without the need of dumbbells, barbells, kettlebells, and all kinds of other expensive, heavy equipment and take up all kind of space and things like this. Okay, again, minimizing the process, cutting straight to the point, right? Making things as efficiently as possible. You don't have to spend 3 hours training a week, 5 hours training a week. A good 60 to 90 minutes a week is all you really need to be able to pack on quality muscle mass, improve strength, and mobility. So you can go on and live your life and do other things rather than slavishly commuting back and forth to a gym wearing yourself out. And you can do it with just body weight and resistance bands. And then finally, we've got the video series for mindset and self-development, the 3 steps of self-actualization: discovery, assessment, and actualization. And that video series is geared towards teaching you and guiding you through that 3-step process so that you can get a better grip, a stronger hold, and a mastery over your personal psychology. And the reason why you really want to pay attention and take part in that is because that can shave years off the struggle, removing unnecessary mental and emotional blocks that you otherwise would have. All right? And then finally, in addition to that, you get access to the live stream replays, you get access to the growing video library of exclusive content, tutorials, and things of this nature, as well as the weekly group coaching calls that we have where the tribe comes together as a community, right on voice chat. We share our successes, our struggles, our experiences, crack jokes, live Q&A, tutorials, and all that fun stuff. So we have a good time in there. So you get access to all of this when you become a Tribe by Noir member. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the other side for just half off. It's not going to be like that forever. So if you're serious and you really want to take part, get started. And I'll see you on the other side. All right, y'all, what's going on? We get it together. All right. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Put a one in the chat if y'all can hear me clearly. Having some streaming issues on the local Tribe by Noir platform, which is deeply unfortunate because this has been like 3 weeks in a row now. And let me tell you something. In our day and age of technological advancement, the more complicated we get with the tech, the less reliable it becomes. So if we had it my way, I'd be doing this in person. Go back to the village days where everybody gathers around in a circle. But we make do with what we got, right? How's everybody feeling this morning? How's everybody doing? Hope everybody is well. Y'all know I love to say, I'm not going to hold y'all too long, right? I don't know if I'm getting better at that effort, but, you know, I do my best. But tonight, well, not tonight. So used to streaming at night still. This morning, we're going to be talking about how to improve blood flow, better blood flow, right? So how do we achieve better blood flow and why is this so important? And how do we know whether or not we need to improve our blood flow? Typically speaking, there's two primary things that you really need to focus on in order to improve every metric in your health, right? Or reverse any chronic illness. One is your gut health, right? In some cases, you know, a lot of cases, it's actually the top priority to improve your gut health, right? So improving gut health is number one. And then number two, improving blood flow. When I say blood flow, I mean the health of your blood as well as the quality of the vascular system that is responsible for circulating your blood, right? And I guess number three would be detoxification. But working on blood flow and gut health inherently implies detoxification, right? Whatever your issue is, whether you're dealing with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, autoimmune disease, chronic obesity, bad breath, sexual reproductive health, whatever the case is, right? All of this really boils down to how good is your blood flow? What is the quality of your blood, right? You know, do you have adequate hemoglobin, red blood cells, white blood cells, blood plasma, right? How healthy is the endothelial layer of your cardiovascular tissues? Do you have an adequate amount of nitric oxide in order to create vasodilation and oxygen uptake into your blood? All these things, right? Even if you have like skin issues or hair growth issues or vision, right? Things like this. A lot of this also is blood flow. Vision is a bit more complicated, right? Because that can imply the actual health of the eyeball itself or the shape of the eye even, right? So you can have good vision, generally speaking, and good blood flow to your eyes. But if you have like a misshapen eye or something like this, or damage to the actual eye, it's a different story. So how do you know whether or not if you need to work on your blood flow, right? How do you know if this is an issue you need to improve on? There are side effects that would tell you this. One of the biggest ones is chronic fatigue. Another one is difficulty breathing. Another one is things like high blood pressure, heart palpitations, right? But the fatigue, the dizziness, the lightheadedness, really low motivation, difficulty waking up in the morning, right? Brain fog, you're just slowish, sluggish, feel like you've really lost your edge or just not even quite sure if you've ever had it, right? Chronic headaches, right? You feel your heart beat in your head. It's things like this. That's how you can see it. That's how you can feel it. Dark yellow urine. That's another one. Swelling of the hands, ankles, feet, lower legs, right? Edema. That's another one. Blurry vision. That could be another one. Not necessarily, but it could be. Neuropathy, right? Nerve pain. Stinging, numbness, tingling, right? In the hands and feet, particularly in the feet, in the big toe, right? This is where gout comes into question. Right, that's another one. Indigestion, right? Frequent gas, bloating, right? Even issues like constipation can be related to this, right? Erectile dysfunction, vaginal dryness. Those are some big ones as well, right? So these are things to really consider, whether or not you should be working on improving your blood flow or not. Oh, and then there's also muscular weakness, right? Your muscles don't feel particularly strong. They always feel kind of fatigued, or they get tuckered out really quickly, right? That's another one. Excessive joint pain. That could be another one as well. The joint pain one is big because a lot of people will experience joint pain, lower back pain, or knee pain, and things like this, and think it's actual damage to the joint when actually it's a blood flow issue or a lack of blood flow. That's another one. So the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, actually, yeah, there's more. There's a lot of side effects. Even your hair loss, right, can be a result of a lack of blood flow to the scalp, right? Loss of libido, a loss of a sex drive, right? Lack of motivation, poor mental health, right? Poor blood flow can cause anxiety, depression, right? Cause you to have real memory problems. All of these things can be traced back to blood flow, the health of your blood in general. So if I had to say, what are some of the simplest, easiest ways that we can improve on our blood flow? Like, how can we get like the results quick? Right? We don't want to be doing all kind of supplements and things like that. There are some supplements that help, and I'll name those. There are some herbs that can help, and I'll name those. But I want to start with some of the things that don't really require, pills or powders or things like this. Well, powders possibly, because you have some herbs that can be put in a powder form because they become pulverized. But I'm going to start with food, right? Y'all definitely normally come to me for food, high raw vegan, fruitarian, plant-based diet strategies and things like that. So I'll start there. Now, the primary thing that has inspired me to talk about this is the fact that a lot of people ask me about blood flow, and a lot of people will bring up issues to me on how to fix their issues, and it stems back to blood flow, right? And I've dropped the fasting, right? So I'm no longer doing any kind of fasting, right? So I'm at the buffet all day, every day. I eat ad libitum. I don't have any restrictions on my diet, right? Not worried about weight gain or anything like that, so to speak. It's all about filling the tank, right? Putting everything back. However, my current strategy right now is alternate day fruitarian, where basically every other day I eat all fruit throughout the day. Right, that is the primary. That makes up like 99% of all the food that I eat on those days. Like today is an all fruit day. And when you have blood flow issues, one of the best things that you can do is have an all fruit day. There's no other food group that's quite like fruit, and it gives the benefits of that fruit does. Fruit is crazy. Fruit is typically high in water, fiber, vitamin C, malic acid, citric acid, potassium, B vitamins, right? All kind of things like that. Fruits are essentially blood building foods. Right? It's blood flow foods. Like if you just take even just one day out of the week to just to eat fruit, not a small amount, I mean a lot of fruit. Right? And I'll get into what I mean about that, about what that actually looks like. But let's say you wake up first thing in the morning, you eat a whole melon, a honeydew melon, a cantaloupe, you eat like 3, maybe even 4 pounds of watermelon. That would be like meal number 1. Meal number 2 could be 2 pounds of bananas, maybe even 3 pounds of bananas. All right. Meal number 3 could be 20, 24 ounces, or even 32 ounces of grapes. Right. 1.5 to 2 pounds of grapes. All right. That could be meal number 3. Meal number 4 could be a ton of citrus fruit. Like 20, 24 ounces of oranges and tangerines, 12 ounces of grapefruit. That could be another one right there. Another meal. All right. So you can have meals like that. This is like the portion sizes of the fruit that you want to consider. Right. You can have bowls where you do like the yellow and orange bowl. You know, you do, let's say you do 8 to 12 ounces of mango, 8 to 12 ounces of pineapple, and 8 to 12 ounces of papaya, all in one bowl. Right? The yellow bowl. That's the beta carotene bowl. Right? The digestive enzyme bowl. Really phenomenal for gut health. Right? And being that coconut kind of is in the fruit family, so to speak, right? It's not exactly a fruit per se, but kind of. It's more of a nut. But you can do coconut yogurt, right? So you do coconut yogurt and you throw in, you know, a variety of different berries. Strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, right? You can throw in like a good 20 ounces of berries in there, right? Make yourself a smoothie bowl and boom, right? That's another meal. And then at the end of the day, you know, you can have, let's say, anywhere from 2 to 4 ounces of cashews and an avocado. Right? And so this is what I mean by like an all fruit day. You have days of eating like that. You get an abundance, like a real huge amount of vitamin C, vitamin K, malic acid, citric acid. You get a full B vitamin profile, vitamin E, vitamin A, right? Well, vitamin A is made inside your body from the beta carotene you consume. An abundance of omega-3 essential fatty acids to balance out your high level of omega-6s that you may have been consuming previously. Right? An abundance of potassium, right? So you consume all this potassium, right? Which can really increase the rate of detoxification, right? So you remove more waste from your body as a result of putting all this potassium in. Potassium in water, of course, not potassium by itself from dry foods. It has to be accompanied with water-rich foods. And your fruits, if you have an all fruit day, basically you have a diet where your diet in and of itself is like 80% water. Right? Phenomenal stuff. And what I'm talking about specifically is, I'm not talking about dry fruits necessarily. Dry fruits have their place, right? Dried apricots, dates, raisins, right? Things like this. But with my methodology, I don't really put these things in diet plans in large amounts, right? Because one of the biggest benefits of eating fruit is the water richness. If you're going to be eating dried fruits, you're kind of defeating a lot of the purpose, right, of this type of dietary strategy. Now, you can eat like that every other day, or you can eat like that every day. Now, if you eat like that every day for multiple days consecutively, whether it be you eat like that every day for a week, you eat like that every day for a month, you eat like that every day for the next 12 weeks, the longer you run that, the longer you keep it going, the more of a benefit you get.
you will notice significant decreases in your body fat percentage, specifically if your body fat percentage is high. If your body fat percentage is already low, you're not really going to experience that, obviously, right? The more body fat you have, the more you have to lose, right? The less body fat you have, the less you have to lose, right? So your body auto-regulates the rate at which you drop body fat. But basically, fruit are just straight up anti-inflammatory, detoxification, and blood-building foods. Right? So when you eat like that, it is a big deal. You can modify this dietary approach too. So for example, with that coconut yogurt that I talked about with throwing the berries in, you can throw in some chia seeds or hemp seeds with it. 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons, right? Something like that. Depends on what your goal is, how much you want to detoxify, this kind of thing. But the reason why I'm talking about this type of dietary strategy in particular is because people's blood flow issues is largely due to dehydration. Right? That's largely the case. That's not the only one, but it's primarily the case. Dehydration combined with excessive sodium, because if you have a dehydrating diet, chances are your diet is also high in dietary fat and sodium. Right? Sodium from processed foods and things like this. Right? Sodium is not inherently in and of itself bad, right? Which is why I don't advocate for people to cut sodium out of their diet, because cutting sodium out of your diet is not really going to be much of a benefit if you're still dehydrated, right? Cutting the sodium out may just make you feel worse. Rather than cutting out sodium, it would make more sense to have a more hydrating diet and increase your potassium intake. That's the better route to go, rather than worrying about cutting out sodium. So what I just laid out, that type of dietary approach, the way that I just said it, that's the model right there to improve your blood flow right out the gate. That's the model right there. You can stop there. I wouldn't advise you should, but you could, right? If you want to improve your blood flow, right? But there's other things that you can add on top of that. And that would be like certain types of supplements. Now, what would be those supplements? I'm going to start with supplements that particularly come in a powder form. Number one on the list is going to be citrulline malate. Citrulline is an amino acid that's a precursor to arginine synthesis inside the body. This citrulline causes an increase in nitric oxide in your body, and nitric oxide causes vascular dilation. Right? And the vascular dilation is largely a result of an increase in oxygen absorption, right? Oxygen uptake into your blood cells. Right? So your body's pulling in more oxygen, therefore increasing thermogenesis, increasing energy conversion, right? And this lights your brain up and your nervous system like a Christmas tree. Your thoughts become clearer, you become faster, you learn quicker, you get your edge back, right? You breathe easier. Everything changes, right, with that oxygen uptake. You drop more body fat, your blood sugar numbers improve, your blood pressure improves. Everything across the board improves. So citrulline malate is a supplement that you can take in a powdered form. It's citrulline combined with malic acid as a transportation mechanism, right, to improve absorption. Now, this citrulline malate, you get it from the citrus fruits, you get it from watermelon, you get it from honeydew, you get it from cantaloupe, you can get it from pomegranate, you can get it from a variety of different types of fruits, cherries, right, things like this. A lot of cucumber. But citrulline malate, you can also increase and enhance the blood building effects by supplementing with it as well. I'm a big fan of the citrulline malate too, because you can use it to make like a homemade lemonade, So I like to do water, the citrulline malate, lime juice, and like a drop of liquid stevia to make like limeade or lemonade, right? The second supplement on the list would be taurine. Taurine is also an amino acid. And it's like this anti-aging, anti-inflammatory amino acid. It's a very medicinal amino acid. Before I move on, basically I want to say, because people are going to ask me about dosages of citrulline malate. So with the citrulline malate, I would recommend, for the purposes of improving blood flow and blood building, I would recommend anywhere from 3 to 9 grams of citrulline malate a day. The citrulline malate particularly typically comes in a 2-to-1 ratio, right? So basically, for every 2 grams of malic acid is 1 gram of citrulline, right? In the 3 grams that you typically find in a scoop. So what that would come out to is 3 grams of citrulline a day, right? 9 grams in total if it's citrulline malate. All right. You can do all 3 scoops, 9 grams of citrulline malate in one shot, or you can do 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and night, with that kind of drink. Taurine. Taurine helps to reduce joint pain, nerve pain. It improves blood pressure, blood sugar control. It can reverse aging, help you to repair or recover from nerve damage. There's a lot of different benefits from it. Helps to improve mental clarity, neuroplasticity. Helps to improve mood, right? Mental focus. Really powerful stuff. And the taurine is flavorless, right? So you can put it in a lot of different things. However, taurine can compete with other amino acids, right? So it's good to take it on an empty stomach. What I like to do is pair the taurine with the citrulline malate. Okay. You can supplement with pretty significant dosages of taurine, right? They typically come in like 2 gram servings. Like if you get it in a powder, the scoop is like 2 grams or something like this. Men typically can do anywhere from 8 to 10 grams a day. Women is more along the lines of 6 to 8. My general recommendations are a bit more on the conservative side. So I say for women it's more along the lines of 4 to 6, and for men it's more along the line of 8 to 10 grams a day. So if you do 2 grams at a time per day, basically 3 times a day would be like 6 grams, which is a pretty effective dosage. If you were to do 4 times a day, that would be 8. Yeah. The taurine is something that I really recommend for people on fasting days. It makes your fast a lot easier, right? But 6 grams, generally speaking, on a daily basis is a pretty good approach if you do that, let's say, over a 12-week period. However, on an empty stomach, if you take it like right after meals or right before meals, well, the effectiveness is gonna be a bit diminished possibly from that. The third one is going to be creatine monohydrate. Creatine monohydrate is one of the most well-researched amino acid supplements, right? It's basically an amino acid used to increase ATP production on a cellular level. Right? Your cells basically take up glucose and lipids and convert that into energy in the form of ATP, right? Adenosine triphosphate. That adenosine triphosphate is then used to power the cell, and then there's a waste product produced called ADP. In more extreme circumstances, it can be AMP. ADP is adenosine diphosphate, right? One of those phosphate molecules is broken off, is detached and used, and then AMP is adenosine monophosphate, right? That's where you lose 2 of those molecules. So basically, this ADP or AMP is then converted and recycled back into ATP. Right, so there's this whole recycling energy generation process that happens in your cells that is facilitated by the mitochondria of your cells. Your mitochondria is basically an organelle inside your cells that is responsible for energy production. All right. So the creatine really helps to improve that energy production inside your cells. Right? And this is in all the cells in your body, particularly in your lean cells of your body, organ tissues, muscle tissues, etc., your brain. So this creatine is a great supplement for anybody. I mean, teenagers, adults, elderly people, 60, 70, 80, 90 years old. It's phenomenal stuff, right? It has mental benefits, muscular benefits, bone benefits, blood sugar, blood pressure benefits, the whole nine. My typical recommendation for creatine monohydrate is to take 5 grams a day, right? It's like a standard kind of dosage. It's more conservative. The upper end of that is going to be like around 20 grams of creatine a day. Now, you can do 5 grams 4 times a day. You can do 10 grams twice a day. You can split it up however you want, right? If you're doing 20 grams a day, that's probably more so for somebody who is like, let's say, an advanced bodybuilder or somebody who does a lot of resistance training, or they really want to maximize the effectiveness of creatine for muscular growth, right, or training performance, right? So this is a good recommendation for athletes or people who engage in a lot of intense labor as far as training is concerned, right? I don't particularly do 20 grams a day. I'd do like 10. I think 10 is a good one for me, for most people. Well, 5 is enough. 5, basically, you do 5 grams a day, your body accumulates the creatine. Right? However, the creatine is good to add to that citrulline, malate, and the taurine in the drink, right? So you can have this one drink, and you do the 1 scoop of the citrulline, the 1 scoop of the taurine, and the 1 scoop of the creatine. You could do that once a day, twice a day. You could do it 3 times a day. Right? This is a great drink to do 3 times a day, and that way you'll get 15 grams of creatine monohydrate. You get 6 grams of taurine, and you get the full 9 grams of citrulline malate. So it's a pretty good strategy to use. If you're doing a fruitarian style diet, right? You're having these fruit days, whether it be every other day or every day. Some of you need to do this like every day for like 12 weeks straight to really, really turn your life around in a meaningful way. Adding in zinc supplementation, right? Because fruits are not particularly high in zinc. This is not a diet that is a significant source of protein. And there are a lot of benefits actually to decreasing the amount of protein you consume, because the excessive protein consumption can actually be giving you the blood flow issues. Okay? So that's the thing people really need to consider, because too much protein intake can be damaging to your liver and your kidneys. All right? And you can get some pretty serious blowback from excessive protein consumption, right? So if you have high blood pressure, diabetic, you've got fatty liver disease, kidney disease, high protein is definitely not a wise idea, okay? Too much of a load on your kidneys, too much of a load on your liver. And excessive protein consumption can actually make it difficult to decrease your body fat percentage. All right? So protein is great to a point, right? So when we're talking about blood building, though, we want to optimize for energy consumption. And protein isn't exactly one of those macros that facilitates optimal energy levels. Protein is not an energy source. It's very important to understand that. However, we do want to optimize for getting certain amino acids, and a lot of the blood building amino acids come from fruit. But typically a diet that is high in zinc has a significant amount of protein in it, because you typically find zinc in high protein foods. Zinc supplementation can be very beneficial for diabetics, right? Because zinc is needed in order to facilitate insulin synthesis, right? For your pancreas to produce insulin, you need zinc. So if you increase, and most of your zinc is stored inside your pancreas. So when you supplement with zinc, like a zinc picolinate, for example, which has a very good absorption rate, that can go a long way towards improving muscle retention, improving insulin sensitivity, improving the functionality of your pancreas, right? Having healthier beta cells of your pancreas. So that not only does this help type 2 diabetes, but also type 1 diabetes. Okay? Zinc is also really important for having a strong immune system. When I say a strong immune system, I don't mean an immune system that's real hyperactive. I mean an immune system that is functionally accurate, meaning it doesn't under respond and it doesn't over respond. Because you can have an immune system that's real strong that can actually be a negative thing, right? We often refer to this as autoimmune disease. It's this overactivation of your immune system. So we don't just want our immune system to just be hyper aggressive and strong, right? What we want is an immune system that's not just strong, but accurate. Right? It doesn't take too long to respond. It's not over responsive. It's just right. Zinc is needed to fight infections. Right? So when you supplement with zinc, you can actually have a lower risk of infections. So zinc is really important for that. So blood sugar, blood pressure, overall, like fighting infections, things like this, antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, right? This kind of thing. Zinc is not necessarily antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, but it's a contributor to other elements that you can have in your diet and things like that in order to facilitate fighting infections or preventing infections. All right. Zinc is very important also for maintaining bone health and the integrity of your bone marrow as well as skeletal muscle tissue. So there's a lot of benefits to zinc. You don't have to supplement with it necessarily, but it could be a very good benefit if you do. As far as supplementation goes, typically women need around 8 milligrams of zinc per day. Men need around 11. Right? That's like the standard RDI. As far as supplementation goes, you can supplement with anywhere from 15 to even 60 milligrams of zinc per day. If anybody was to supplement with 60 milligrams a day, which is pretty high, but I would recommend that for men because zinc is also a good natural testosterone booster. All right. So if you want to raise your testosterone as a man, zinc is a really good supplement to use for that. Okay. In order for your body to produce testosterone, you need zinc. So if you're having low testosterone issues, higher dosages of zinc can be really beneficial. A more moderate form of supplementation, which I typically recommend, is like 15 milligrams per day. All right. Other than that, I think those are the primary supplements that I would recommend. There are plenty of other supplements that you can use for blood flow. It's not really particularly necessary. Those are the ones that really give you the most bang for your buck. Now we move on to herbs. Herbs that improve blood flow. There's a few on my list. First one is going to be more of like your morning herbs. And these ones that I'm about to name are particularly significant sources of EGCG and L-theanine. Okay, so EGCG is a chemical compound that has like anti-aging effects, helps to boost thermogenesis, oxygen absorption, right? So it can improve blood sugar, blood pressure, increase fat burning, and all this kind of stuff, right? So EGCG is phenomenal. And you would typically find this in like your green teas. You would find this in your ginseng, your ginkgo biloba, your oolong, this type of thing, right? So matcha tea is like up there on my list. My top ones are going to be as well as the L-theanine, which is an amino acid that's phenomenal for powering your brain, improving nerve function and brain function, right? That L-theanine. So my top recommendations for that are going to be matcha, ginkgo biloba, and ginseng. Those are my top 3. You can also do oolong tea, white tea, right? Those work too. But yeah, that matcha, ginkgo biloba, and ginseng. Those are my top 3 for that. For sexual health, right? For libido, as well as blood flow, burdock root. Burdock root is one of my top favorites. Burdock root is a great blood building and detoxifying high iron, high copper root. Okay. So burdock root is definitely up there. I'm a big fan of burdock root tea. I got to actually get some more burdock because I'm fresh out. Burdock root is very easily in my top 3. Burdock root is absolutely phenomenal. The next one on my list is going to be parsley tea. Parsley tea is actually very good for detoxifying your blood. All right. Or just parsley in general, whether it be the herb or in a tea. I'm a big fan of teas, right? Because you can't do too much, right? You can like take an herb and ground it up into a powder and put a high dosage of it in a capsule and have pretty strong reactions to it. So you don't want to overdo it with the herbs and the capsules. So, you know, the teas are like the safer, more sustainable option, right? So I typically go for that. And I'm a tea enthusiast. I love tea. Yeah, I don't understand. I talk about tea all the time. I love tea. So basically, matcha, ginkgo, ginseng, burdock root, parsley, right? Those are phenomenal. You have others that are not necessarily blood flow herbs or teas, but they're very effective peripherally. So this would be things like ashwagandha. Ashwagandha, particularly, is very good for sexual health because of stress reduction, right? So ashwagandha is an adaptogen that can significantly reduce cortisol, like excess cortisol, right? Improve sleep quality, and you get better sleep quality. You wake up with better blood flow and more vascularity. So ashwagandha definitely is up there on the list as well. It's not really a blood flow thing, but it's a good contributor. Then you have other things too, like sarsaparilla. Sarsaparilla is very rich in iron and copper, right? You've got yellow dock, right? That's a bladderwrack. That's another one, right? Those herbs. These are more of like your sea vegetables, right? Your sea herbs, so to speak. So the yellow dock, the burdock, the bladderwrack, your sea moss. Sea moss is like nature's natural multivitamin. Like if you would have been like, hey, what's a good multivitamin to take? I would tell you sea moss. As a matter of fact, if you really, really want to optimize for blood flow, I would definitely put sea moss on the list at like the top of your supplements list. I would put sea moss above the citrulline, the taurine, and the creatine. Those are beneficial, but sea moss would definitely be at the top of the list though. Because you get all of your minerals from that. The thing about the sea moss though is, right, you know, if you wanted to get like the straight up sea moss and make your own sea moss gel and all of that type of stuff, it could be a bit cumbersome, but definitely worth it to make your own, right? Of course, you got to wash it because you got to wash the sand off and all that. You know, you got to turn it into like a gel or a powder, whichever you want to put it in. And the taste isn't really particularly all that great, but it's worth it, honestly. So sea moss definitely at the top of the list. Get all of your trace minerals, right? It's a big deal. And then finally, in closing, the final thing, and this is not like a significant source of diet plans that I make, but it is worth to put in there, okay? Now, if you're going to do like the straight fruitarian thing on a daily basis, I would add around at least 4 ounces, but up to like 8 ounces of leafy green vegetables in the diet. I wouldn't go nuts with the leafy green vegetables. Just because if the more you do it, if you really kind of overdo it, you can have some pretty big blowback, because you could just be putting way too much insoluble fiber into your gut, and it could be a bit much. But in particular, your tender leafy green vegetables, right? These particularly are medicinal, right? So your red butter lettuce, your chard, watercress, your kale, arugula, right? Things like this. Spinach, right? Your tender leafy salad greens. I think like having at least 5 ounces, somewhere around 8 ounces of the leafy greens a day. Right? I think 5 ounces is enough. But in particular, these are really rich sources of iron, copper, magnesium, chlorophyll. What else? Beta carotene and vitamin K. All right. That's why you want your leafy greens for those things. All right. So the leafy green vegetables definitely have their place. You don't need to go nuts and try to cram as much leafy greens into your mouth as possible in a day. You don't need to do all that. Right? But have one meal out of the day that's like a big salad. One meal, big salad bowl, leafy green vegetables. That'll do it. Okay. Those leafy green vegetables are really important for blood building as well. Because of that chlorophyll, because of the iron and the copper that you get. The vitamin K, as well as omega-3 essential fatty acids. All right. There are also some more low glycemic fruits that are really important for this kind of dietary approach. Cucumber. Interestingly enough, cucumber is similar to watermelon. They're in the same fruit category, right? They belong to the same food family. And cucumber is actually a big deal because it's a good source of silica, which is important for protecting your DNA. It's a good source of vitamin K. It's a good source of vitamin C. And it's a good source of citrulline, interestingly enough. So cucumber. And that's one of those that's really good to put in your salads. Peppers. Specifically, my favorite is bell pepper. Bell pepper's phenomenal. Bell pepper is a good source of iron, copper, vitamin C, beta carotene, alpha carotene. All right? So bell pepper is definitely on the list there. Sea vegetables like leeks. I'm a big fan of those. Right? There are vegetables that grow above ground and vegetables that grow underground. Right. So those of you who are like my hardcore fruitarian or raw vegans, you prefer to eat things that grow above ground from vines, trees, or that grow on top of the soil. So an example of this would be, let's say, pumpkin or any kind of gourds, butternut squash versus like sweet potato. Let's say like that combination. Butternut squash should be something more so above ground, right? Sweet potato or any kind of potato grows below ground, right? Butternut squash is a lot less starchy. It's a bit easier on the gut for people with gut health issues and experience a lot of gas and bloating. So if you're having gas and bloating issues with sweet potato, butternut squash is a better alternative. And interestingly enough, butternut squash is a fruit. Squash in general is a fruit. It's a seeded fruit. Okay. So it fits nicely into the whole fruitarian approach, especially coming into winter. It's going to be not going into winter, going into fall, right? We've got your gourds, pumpkins. We got the squash, right? Those yellows and oranges. This is the season for it. So your soups and stews. Go ahead and get into that pumpkin, get into that squash, and make them soups, right? And the thing is, them fruit-based soups, you add those to that fruitarian approach. That's a great combination. It's a wonderful source of beta carotene, so you can really get your vitamin A levels up, which is really important for protecting the pigmentation of your cells. So this can help you to reverse gray hair, so you maintain the pigmentation of your hair. This facilitates hair growth, hair moisturization, skin quality, right? So when you combine high levels of beta carotene and vitamin C and potassium into your diet, you get better hair, skin, and nails. You can start to regain your collagen elastin. So if your skin is thinning, it's cracking, it's dry, you having uneven skin pigmentation, weird stuff going on with the pigmentation of your skin, definitely getting more of that beta carotene in, getting more of that vitamin C in. That's going to significantly improve on that issue. All right. So those yellow and orange foods, big deal. So your grapefruit, your cantaloupe, papaya, pineapple, mangoes, if you can still get them before they're out of season, and then your pumpkin and butternut squash. All right. And then, of course, if you're going to eat the pumpkin, you also want to eat them pumpkin seeds. So them pumpkin seed kernels, great source of omega-3 essential fatty acids, iron, copper, and they're also anti-parasitic. Right? They have anti-parasitic properties, so they help to fight off parasites. And parasites can also be contributing to things like anemia or low hemoglobin, low iron, things like this, right? So it's only right that we offer some tips on how to get rid of parasites. And you kind of need to burn them out. You got to poison them, so to speak. And cayenne pepper is one of those things that's at the top of my list for that. So you can actually add cayenne pepper to your foods, your soups and stews, and your teas. I like adding cayenne pepper to my golden ginger tea. It's basically a combination of ginger and turmeric together, and I add in cayenne pepper. So that would basically be a 1/4 teaspoon or 1 gram of ginger, same measurement for turmeric, and then 1/8 of a teaspoon for cayenne pepper. And that is a very strong antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungal combination in a tea. So if you're trying to fight off some type of infection, that's a really good tea for that. All right. We dropping game tonight. I keep saying tonight. This morning. Why I keep saying that? I used to always do all my streams at night, so it's an old habit. I used to do them at 7 p.m. Eastern. So I guess I'm still getting adjusted to the morning time. All right. All right, we're almost out of time. Let me check in with y'all in these comments. Who we got here? Bonanza Ross, what's going on? I drink cayenne water twice a day, once in the morning and once before bedtime. Look at that, cayenne water. Yeah, let me tell you something. That cayenne pepper has a chemical compound called capsaicin. That's where you get that heat from. Stuff is highly medicinal. That's right. Danielle, thank you. Love all the educational info. Very helpful. I will be sharing your page. Appreciate that. Absolutely. Kershey, what's going on, brother? Check in with me. Let me know the good news, how things are working out for you. Right? Give me that update. That's right. How many of them abs are popping out now? I feel like I'm going to say this name wrong, but I'm going to give it a shot. Alya Chan. Thank you for talking about diabetes. Absolutely. Oh, type 1 diabetes. Yeah, absolutely. That's right. People don't like to talk about type 1 too much, so the type 1 people get ignored by the health community, unfortunately. But type 1 diabetes can be reversed. Of course, there's levels to reversal, right? So complete reversal, it's a bit of a tough one, right? There's not a whole lot of evidence on like type 1 reversal. It can be done. People have done it. It's rare as far as like scientific literature and things like that. But I'm a firm believer that it can be because anything that can be reversed partially can be reversed entirely. And I've had type 1 diabetics where they almost didn't have to take any insulin at all. They significantly reduced the dosage of insulin they had to take. All right. How are lemon and other citrus fruits? You know, a juicing lemon or drinking lemon juice. You can eat lemon too. It's a real kick in the mouth to do so. But yeah, eating lemons. Oh yeah, you can do that. Lemon is really detoxifying too. It's like if you juice lemon, you just do straight lemon juice. Oh, that stuff's powerful. Dates are good to eat. I would say that dates, you can use dates as like a natural sweetener to put in like smoothies and things like that. Or you can just eat dates straight up, right? I prefer fruits that are more water rich. So, you know, dates, I typically advise people to eat them sparingly. Miss Nicole Richey, what's going on? Good to see you in here. Down to 209, coach. I will be checking in very soon. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, sir. That's right. Keep it going. You are killing the game out here. That's what I'm talking about. I appreciate that. That's right. Folks in the tribe that's killing it. All you got to do is stick to the plan. I'm telling you, it works. So I'm going to be doing something. If y'all have noticed in my shorts and whatnot, I post like my physique updates. It's one of those things where it's like I can show you better than I can tell you. Kinda. Because I say a lot of things and I give a lot of good like pointers and advice and plans and strategies. But like when you see what it looks like on me, you see my body transform, which those of you who have been following long enough, y'all realize that, yeah, my physique has changed quite a bit. And all the changes y'all see me go through, that's exactly a result of the things I've been telling y'all to do. All right, so I'm living proof. All right, what's going good to see you in here. What fruits and foods to eat and ones to stay away from on a candida cleanse? Yeah, I would say probably with candida, you want to stay more with your water-rich fruits. A fruitarian style diet actually works pretty well for candida. However, if you have candida, because this thing is like, it's not, people say, oh, well, sugar makes candida worse. And it's like, kind of, not. It's not the actual consumption of sugar that's a problem for candida. It's the high blood sugar levels. It's the blood saturation of candida, right? And then it's the underlying high levels of fat and protein that you eat along with it that cause you to have that more elevated blood sugar and whatnot. It's not just sugar or carbs in a vacuum that contribute to the growth of candida. That's not really how that works. However, if you really want to diminish candida, your herbs and things like that is really going to get that done. So your ginger, turmeric, your basil, your nettle, fennel, cayenne pepper, matcha, things like this, right? These antifungal herbs and things like that are what's going to do it. Your pumpkin seed kernels also, that's another one, right? Because you can cut all of your carbs out, all the sugar out, and go fast and fast. That's not really going to get rid of candida, right? Because a fungal infection is really difficult to get rid of. If you just don't feed the candida, it's not going to just leave your body. It's just going to go dormant and embed itself deeper into your gut and your vital organs. And then when you start eating again, then they get reactivated, right? It's kind of like when you have mold in your house. You can spray bleach on the mold. And what happens is all the mold that you see, it may get killed on the surface, but the rest of that mold will recede deeper into the surface that it's growing on. Right? So like cement, it'll go into this, it'll go deeper into the cement. Wood, it'll go deeper into the wood. Right? If you have like a wall that's like a sheetrock, it will go deeper into the sheetrock to the point where it will just straight up grow on the inside of your walls, and it'll spread like crazy on the inside of your walls where you can't see them. And then when your HVAC system comes on, then all the spores then come out of your vents, and then you're inhaling them all day. Nasty stuff. And this is how fungus or mycotoxins work, right? So just, avoiding carbs or avoiding sugar and all, it's not really going to do it, right? You need like a full antifungal approach. All right. So this dietary strategy that I just told you is actually compatible with with an approach to candida. You would just have to prioritize foods that are higher, like, probiotic rich foods. So that could be your coconut yogurt, your kimchi, your sauerkraut, your pickles, kombucha, miso, things like this. And then you combine that with things like garlic. Garlic is a really good antifungal thing. So when you make like soups and stews, you add garlic into it, you add turmeric into it. Cumin, that's another one. Cumin's really good, has really good antifungal properties as well. Right? So things like that. All right. Oh yeah, that's right. Beets are actually phenomenal too for nitric oxide. It's not really a fruit per se, but nitric oxide. If you want to increase your nitric oxide intake in your body, or nitric oxide secretion and production, yeah, beets are really good for blood flow as well. And and we're heading into fall, and that's a good season to default to beets when you no longer can get watermelon. Stacy, what's going on? Good to see you in here. I'm new in the community and love your content. Do you post any of your workouts? Yes, I do, but I'm going to make more of a habit of doing that more so. My workouts are like real short. They're like 20, 30 minutes. And so like setting up a camera and all that kind of stuff, I haven't really been so good about doing that just because, I don't want it to go on too long by messing around with camera angles and stuff like that. So I film more so like tutorials and things like that. But yeah, I have posted more workout stuff. And I got some stuff too that I'm actually planning out and will be posting in the community too. So yeah, just definitely watch out for that, and good to see you in the community. Also, if you're like a tribe member where you've signed up for like the 25 a month thing, you get access to all the courses and the training programs as well, right? So that has like, the exercises, video tutorials for the exercises, the sets and the reps, the rep tempo, all that kind of stuff. All the guidelines are laid out for the training program. What I just said about candida also applies to H. pylori, right? So like bacterial infections also, like you get a bacterial infection, the bacteria, if you just fast but you don't apply like an antibacterial, like an antiviral, antifungal kind of approach to it, it's just gonna go dormant and embed itself deeper into your body. Okay, and then when you start eating again, then it resurfaces. This is why people have such a difficult time getting rid of it. So it's not just avoiding foods, right? You need those herbs, you need those chemical compounds. Also, black seed oil. Black seed oil is very beneficial as well to killing off H. pylori. I've had people with H. pylori, and we use black seed oil. Black seed oil was very effective for getting rid of those infections. It's a bit of a mixed bag though, because also with the black seed oil, let's say if your H. pylori is real bad to the point where you're getting like a lot of acid reflux, the black seed oil could potentially make it worse. So if you take like, let's say a teaspoon of black seed oil and you get like a lot of acid reflux, you probably want to default to something more mild. So that would be like a basil tea, a parsley tea, or like a nettle tea, something like this. All right. How long did you stay on the fruitarian diet before you noticed muscle gains from fruit only? Probably within the first week, I'd say. It's pretty noticeable. It's very noticeable. However, like if you're going to do the fruitarian approach to gaining muscle mass and whatnot, you have to eat in abundance, right? Like don't do this thing where it's like, oh, I'm going to eat an apple. I'm going to have I'm going to have a small bowl of grapes, or I'm going to have a couple bananas here and there. If these small portions are not going to do it. The name of the game when it comes to fruit is volume, right? So you can eat large portions at a time, right? If you really want to see the muscle growth from the fruit consumption, you got to get used to eating the larger portions. So we're talking about like 8 bananas at a time, right? We're talking about eating fruit by the pound, right? 3 pounds of honeydew, right? 3 pounds of cantaloupe, 3 pounds, 4 pounds of watermelon, right? 2 pounds of grapes. It's this kind of thing, right? Your portion sizes can be your portion sizes can be a lot bigger, right? So like back in the day, what I used to do is I had this bowl called Phillip. It's a big wooden bowl. I still have it, by the way. It's this big wooden bowl I call Phillip. And I would fill the bottom of the bowl with leafy green vegetables, and I would add a variety of fruits and whatnot on top. And then in the corner, I would add like 1 or 2 ounces of nuts and seeds. And I did that, and I would eat on stream as a way to basically demonstrate, well, this is how your meals actually should be on this type of diet. All right. And the reason why it works for building muscle is because people are like, oh, the thing that builds muscle the most is protein. It's like, kind of, but not really. You need energy, and you need a lot of energy to build muscle, right? So if you have a carbohydrate dominant diet, the primary energy molecule of the human species is glucose. It's sugar. All right, to the point where even if you eat fat, the fat is only useful as an energy source if it's converted into sugar. All right, the only way protein can be used as an energy source is if you break off the nitrogen molecule and convert it into sugar. Right? So ultimately, in order to power your body and to facilitate muscle growth, you need a tremendous amount of energy. All right? So if you have like your muscle cells are largely made up of hydrogen, nitrogen, and carbon, but like 76 to 80% of the muscle itself is made up of hydrogen and carbon, right? But the actual mass of the muscle is largely a carbon structure. So if you want larger muscles, you need more carbon. Just increasing nitrogen is not really going to cut it, right? Because even in protein, the smallest element is the nitrogen. When people talk about protein, it's kind of like a protein is a combination of carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen, those 3 molecules. But when we're talking about muscle mass, you don't try to grow muscle mass by, having more of a focus on increasing the smallest element of muscle mass. That makes sense. Right? You want to maximize, carbon. You want to maximize for carbon. And that's going to mostly come from your carbohydrates. Carbohydrate basically is carbon and hydrogen. It's just carbohydrate for short. Carbon, hydrogen for short, combined together. Right? So more carbohydrates in equals more muscle growth. That's how it is. Yes, you need the nitrogen molecule and the amino acids to build muscle. But the amount that you need is largely overstated. All right. And let me tell you something. If this didn't work, I wouldn't be doing it as long as I've been doing it. I wouldn't look the way that I do. I cut animal products out of my diet. I have a largely fruit-based diet. I wouldn't be doing that, and I wouldn't be saying this for years if it didn't work. Right? So y'all can go back into my catalog and look. What I'm saying now is not new. I've been doing this for years. All right, and those who are members of the tribe and they do what I tell them to do, they get the results. They're like, yeah, it definitely works. Also, one thing people don't talk about, and it related back to blood flow, in order to build muscle mass, you need to adequately leverage angiogenesis, which is the formation of new vascular tissues. In order to grow muscle mass, you need nerve endings and blood vessels to attach to those muscle fibers. Right? So when you train a muscle, the stress from the muscle, from initiating the muscular contractions in the work, that leads to a sharp increase in angiotensin 2. The angiotensin 2 signals to the endothelial layers of your the endothelial layer of your vascular tissue to then release more nitric oxide, right? So then the endothelium of your blood vessels releases nitric oxide, right? So those of you in the bodybuilding community, nitric oxide, NO for short, right? This is what all your pre-workout supplements, they're nitric oxide supplements. Well, that nitric oxide is synthesized in your body and then released from the endothelial cells. And that causes an increase in thermogenesis, oxygen absorption, and vasodilation. In order of operations, you get an increase in oxygen absorption that leads to an increase in thermogenesis, which leads to an increase in vascular dilation. Right? The angiotensin 2 should be in the increase in angiotensin 2. It's a hormone that conduces vascular constriction, but that is only a catalyst that gets your blood vessels to respond by dilating and then ramping up angiogenesis, which is the formation of new vascular tissues. The catalyst is the response from the angiotensin 2. And that would be like the final point if you wanted to improve blood flow. Resistance training and working and stimulating the muscle is the final part of that. Okay. So that's basically how that works. And so when you get more vascular dilation, better blood flow, and you get more angiogenesis, that leads to a greater rate of muscle development. All right. So I think I'll leave it there, right? We're going into 10:30. I got to get ready for the work day. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. And I will see y'all on the next one.